nutty nice guy. Long time between videos, I know. I'm going to try and get back to shooting regular stuff, but just a really busy time for me for lots of different reasons. So I'm not going to promise anything, but I did promise to do the Kubey Scimitar. Now, it's a Kubey, and I love Kubeys. I've had 4 now, and they've all been very good. The only complaint I had was, let's see, the Kubey carve. I had an issue with the carry clip, but when it comes to overall quality, Kubeys always deliver. Sheath, you can hear that beautiful pronounced Kydex click. Ready? Very good retention, but not too much retention so you can't get it out quickly and easily. So this has been in my EDC rotation, even though it has not yet been to the warpost. I've had it for a couple of months. I have faith in Kubey. I really hope that that faith is justified. Now, a couple of things though. One, you're going to notice that the camera angles are going to be different because somewhere along the line I misplaced the proper mounting bracket for my camera to marry to my tripod, and I'm using kind of an improvised system, and I really don't know how I'm going to get set up when I go to the warpost, but I'm going to try. And also, the testing of this is going to be different. This is really close to like a Persian Jambia knife. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But anyway, a Persian or Indo-Persian Jambia, and there's another name for it whose name escapes me. And I had mentioned this in another knife. I've never reviewed it, but I've never reviewed this knife, but I had mentioned it in another video, and how, although I like the Kubey, I wasn't crazy about its design. This is a pure fighting knife, and it's not really designed much for anything else. But I question the angle of the tip and the way it would thrust. But I educated myself. I did a little research, and I found that for the most part, blades with this general curvature design were used in the reverse grip. And this knife is actually pretty comfortable in either the forward grip or whatever version of that, the hammer grip, the saber grip, the Filipino grip, the handshake grip, whatever, the forward. But it's also still very nice in this grip. And this, as near as I can tell, is the way it's meant to be used. And I get that now that I've played with it a little bit, because if you're thrusting in the forward grip, you have to kind of curve over to angle that tip for a good thrust. I mean, you can do that, it's not a big deal, but it's not really optimized. And if you're going forward, in a forward thrust, you kind of have to go forward and up to really align that tip. And that's not really natural, but flip it around, and that becomes very natural. This tip angles around, and just with the natural flow of your arm is angled in, and you just kind of push the blade curvature through your target. A lizardman, zombie, ninja, of course. They're everywhere. You may not see them, but even now they are plotting the demise of mankind. But you can see that. And also, when it comes to slashing, this is a pretty good slashing angle, but when you get it in reverse grip, this is pretty doggone nice. So you're going to be slashing in reverse grip and using this curvature. A little bit more awkward here, but, and also, and again, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name. There is a martial art dedicated to a curved dagger and a shield. So this angle is not such a big deal if you're using it as a shield, using it with a shield, because you can still hook. And that's another thing in reverse grip, because of the hook, and because of this curve, you can use it like a hook better than just a straight knife. Now, that's the way I'm going to be using it for testing. I'm going to be using it this way because I think that's fair to the design. You will notice I'm going to be clumsier that way, although I do some practice in reverse grip. Probably 85–90% of my practice is in the forward grip. So I'm going to look a little more awkward than I already do normally. Also, I'm not going to be doing the downward throws like I normally do, and I'm not going to be doing the 4-foot drop. Why? Again, the curvature of this. This is not pointing straight down anyway, so dropping it this way would prove nothing. And also with the throws. I could throw down and potentially stick, but because of the curved blade, I consider that kind of pointless, pardon the pun. So, I'm going to go out to the warpost. It's windy out. I've got to figure out a way to get this camera rigged without the bracket for my tripod. If I can accomplish that, you will see the warpost. If not, I'm just not going to... well, if not, you're not going to see anything because I am... Why am I even talking about it? But anyway, I'm going to go out and see if I can get this camera rigged up for the warpost. And what I was about to say is that if I can't get it rigged up, then I'm not even going to publish this part of the video, which is pointless because you wouldn't see it because I wouldn't have published it. You see how I am losing my mind? Nutty knife guy. That's becoming more true every day. So, I'm going to go out and see what I can jury rig out of the warpost. And I had my remote. What did I do? There's my remote. Live YouTube, folks. Okay, the camera is sitting somewhat precariously on a fence post, and if it falls off and breaks, the neighbor kids are liable to hear some language they shouldn't repeat. But I think you can see okay. That's the best I can do under the circumstances. First, the enemy water bottle. And I missed on the back end because I don't do this very often. Wasn't that funny? Yeah, not the bad cut, but not the best either. Try that again. And I hit it in almost exactly the same spot, and I did get through there. That's a really thick part of the bottle. Let's see if I can... come up another way. And I punched it more than I cut it there. I'm going to go ahead and do it this way just to prove the knife, because I suck at it with the in reverse grip. But that curve is messing me up. I really don't want to blame the knife, but we're going to try a completely different angle here. Because I want to be fair. It's hard to get this hanging so I can get a decent shot. Okay. Because of this, I'm having to cut at the corners where it's toughest, but that, I'll show you here better in a minute, was actually a pretty deep cut. Okay, let's try this. You probably didn't see that, because I was probably in the way. Yeah, maybe you did. Okay, one more. That was just a glance. Boy, I suck with the reverse grip. and I continue this side. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, different thing for me. You're going to see a jump here. I'm going to cut and edit to see how much of that you actually saw with this new camera angle. Okay, my big fat butt blocked some of that, but most of it's usable. And I think you can get an idea of the knife. I'm going to try to stay in frame with the warpost here, and I am going to try to use the reverse grip. And the glove is more to protect my hand from scraping it on the post than cutting it with the knife. Yeah, I'm not, with this reverse grip, I'm just not used to the distancing on this kind of a knife. Okay, I've tried, but this is just not going to work. If I practice with it like that more, it'd be alright, but it's going to have to be in the forward grip for the testing. Now you can see I'm coming up like this with the thrust, and we're getting really solid bite. And since we didn't do the chair thing, we'll do this. Wiggle it around a little bit. And I think that's reasonable for a knife of this height to test how strong it is. And I'm going to turn it around again and try to do this right and just try to do it slow. It's not that the knife is awkward in this grip, it's just I'm awkward using this grip. I really should practice in reverse grip more, because this grip is about the only one I'm really comfortable with. Now for stabbing, there, that's in there good. And if I really torqued on this, I would snap the point, but I would snap the point on just about any knife like this. And that's because I'm clumsy. But I'm going to do that again with this thrust. It doesn't look like it. You would think this curve would make it a slashing weapon, but it is really a terrific thruster. And I think it's better suited for that because of the angle of the blade and the way it aligns that tip on one of these motions. And what was I worried about? This is not a failure of the knife, folks. This was me pushing the test too far. I just snapped it. But there it is. And I was kind of worried about that, but I'm going to show you this because I'm going to reprofile this and keep the knife. But I want you to see that it's not a fault in the metallurgy. There's no holes or pits in there. I was just stupid just now. But that's the way it is. We'll go downstairs and wrap this up. Okay, before we go downstairs, I did want to show you the cuts because they were kind of hard to see, I think. Let's see if I can squeeze this. You can see this did get through the thicker parts on those cuts, even due to my incompetence. And also, before I go downstairs, I think I'm going to go down here and reprofile this blade, since I've already showed you, but I'll get you a better close-up. I had that blade I put that blade way in there, and it went. This is pretty decent D2 steel, and then there's the cross section again. Yes, I think it shouldn't probably have done that in a way, but on the other hand, I think just about any knife would have broken if I would have done that to it. That's a hard wood post. There's no give to it, and that was a long way in there. And I'll see you downstairs after I do a little work on the grinder. Okay, folks. That's better. I did spend some time out at the grinder, and I need to clean it up a little, make it pretty. I'm going to take some files to it. But what I did is I basically took that broken end and I made it into a kind of a mini tanto point. Like I said, I'm going to take some files and clean it up. But this is still going to be a very usable knife. Now, the way I did, I really don't know if you can see that very well, but I got, I guess you can call it almost a pyramid type point, where you have the meat of the blade all coming right to the end and then coming into a point. I think that's a lot stronger. And honestly, I've been wanting to experiment with this kind of a grind for a long time, and I've never really wanted to do it. I've got a couple of really cheap, like Ozark trail knives that that failed the test, and you guys never saw to see. But since this broke, I decided just to go ahead and do it while I was thinking about it. Now, we do have to call this a fail, but I would call it an understandable fail for a lot of reasons. First of all, I could tell by how narrow that blade was here that the tip was questionable. It was not one of these things where I wanted to put a lot of force in. I put more force on it than I want to, because that thing did go deep. And as I said, and I could be wrong about this, this is just an observation on my part, despite the curvature of the blade making it look like a slasher, I really think that this was more of a thrust. I think this was designed to go through and then slash out, come through and then slash out. Based on it. Now, the way I have this configured now, you can still do that. It's just there's more meat on the tip, and I think I can clean this up so it still will look pretty. But you do have to call it a fail, an understandable fail, and really more of a failure of my skill and not being careful enough. I like Kubeys, and as I said, I don't think that this was a failure of the knife. I think it was kind of a failure of design. If it's a thrusting, any knife that's made for tactical really should be able to take more than that, especially if it's D2. But that was an extraordinarily thin tip. So what I'll do is I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to extend the edge all the way around it, and I'll test this knife with my new tip configuration and see how it works. But I'm going to call it a fail. It did break. Whether it was fair, I got to tell you, I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure it was fair to the design of the knife to do what I did with it. I didn't expect it to break with that much torque, but maybe I put a little bit more torque than I wanted to on it. Because you saw, I did wobble it and things like that, but that last time it was deep, and also the post was moving, the warpost was moving when I did that, and that's very hard wood. That's a lot harder than the chair that I usually tested in. But this is still usable. Like I said, I'm going to refine my little repair here, and I will test it again and let you know. But unfortunately, do have to call it a fail, even though it's an understandable fail. I'm really sad because I really like this knife. But you know, as much as I want to excuse, and I really want to excuse it. I really want to excuse the failure. I want to find a reason to say it didn't fail. But the fact of the matter is, I have done that to other knives, and I've broken other knives that way too. But there have been other knives from other companies with thin tips that did not break. I just think that I got that in there deep enough that there was enough torque that it just snapped. It's unfortunate, but this is still going to be a very usable knife, I think. And I think, configured this way, the tip is going to be strong enough, and it is still quite sharp, so it should pierce. So I can't say when, but we'll go out and I'll do another tip test eventually and see what happens. In the meantime, I'm going to use an unbroken knife for my admonishment. In the meantime, this is my Hogue. I always forget the model number. EXF02. This passed all the tests. And in the meantime, until we meet again, remember to draw your knives only in just purpose, sheathe them only with honor, and to remember that without knives, life would be dull and pointless. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. 6,035 subscribers. Getting to that 1,000 mark, folks. So if you like, share, and subscribe, that really makes me happy. It beats the almighty YouTube algorithm. All hail the algorithm. And with that, I bid you goodbye.